Yeah, and it's all right.
What up, everybody? It is Thursday night. Thursdays, bitches. Time for the Dapper Baboon Show. Call a buddy, bring a friend, but don't you dare miss it. If you want to call, the number is 914-205-5427. 914-205-5427. I am your host, Bo Henry, and with me, as always, is my main man, Dumply Dave. Dumply Dave, how you doing, Dumply Dave?
Dumply Dave?
Dumply Dave.
Dude,
That's your
I've
rap
been,
name, yeah?
I don't know if I like that one.
Well, then why'd you choose it? It's your rap name.
My rap name should be Super Dope Killer 33333.
333333333.
Repeating, dude.
Right? Because you
let's check in with you, Bo. How have you been, dude? What's going on? What's the status with your life hole and all that stuff?
With my life hole?
Yeah.
What are you talking about, my life hole?
You know, the hole from which your life comes from.
Don't hit me with this weird, like, just because you watched, like, probably a 10-minute YouTube video or something, like, somebody talk about their life hole. Now you're hitting me with my life hole.
No, I came up with it because I just am smart or whatever.
You came up with that? Like, that took you, how long did that take you? You're like...
Several months.
47
but it's a
years old
experience.
Now? Your life hole. There's a hole in your life,
yeah.
And you got to put things in it.
Yeah, there's just a hole from which life comes from and which life goes into, and I just wonder, the ins and outs of your life hole. How's it feeling? The elasticity of it, the consistency. How's your life hole?
Well, if you must know, Dave, I have been becoming quite the handyman, sir. I have been on top of the things. The things have been needed done, and I've been doing the needed things. So I'm in the middle of sanding my hardwood floors right now. It's like
I feel like you look dumb doing that.
That's like the most like suburban white dad thing you can do, I think, is like sand your floors.
And you're wearing like an old stretched out Ren and Stimpy t-shirt?
Yeah, either that or like some New Balances with khaki shorts. And
do you have like a tool belt? I'm getting some DoorDash Arby's delivered. Give me 1 second.
Fuck your DoorDash Arby's.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, it's doing good.
I appreciate you, sir.
Your DoorDash. I just spit in your food and shit in your face. Yeah, I bet you didn't even tip them too, did you, fucker?
Some Arby's delivered DoorDash style.
Well, yeah, and I mean, because we don't do this at 8 o'clock, you didn't have within the last couple hours to eat.
What, you don't like Arby's?
No, I love Arby's, but you're ordering Arby's in the middle of our podcast. The fuck,
What's
dude?
your main order at Arby's? What do you get when you go full on Arby's?
Whatever it is, I get the jalapeno poppers with it. I can't not.
I don't think those are that good.
Bullshit. They're the best place to get them.
I like a solid French dip sub.
Yeah, French dip's one of those things you kind of get hooked on. Like, I don't know that I eat a French dip sub more than anything else, but when I get a French dip sub, usually I get another one within the week.
Do you like the au jus or no?
Oh yeah. Why wouldn't you like the au jus? That's the only reason to get the shit. It's no longer a French dip. It's like a German dick. German dick.
Do you get curly fries, waffle fries?
I would definitely get the curly fries over the waffle fries, but I'm not a huge fan of their curly fries for the most part. All right.
Do you get a cup of cheese with them or no?
Where are you going with this, buddy?
If you get a cup of fucking cheese with your curly fries is where I'm going with it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It just feels like an interrogation. What you want to know? Why do you think that the listening public wants to know about my Arby's habits? Or is it just
because they fucking can relate? Maybe it's their Arby's habits too. And also, I want to know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the question being posed to all of you at the number 914-205-5427. What is your Arby's go-to? I will say one thing that does piss me off about Arby's. If you ever wanted to see an example of the inflation in work and inflation in America, remember it wasn't that long ago when we'd have the commercials around Christmas time and every once in a while, and they'd always have the 5 for $5 roast beef sandwiches?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those motherfuckers are 5 for $10 now. 5 for $10.
Ain't that some shit? Oh, yeah, I agree.
They're double the price.
Arby's 5 for $5 was a national, treasure, and now it's gone.
Right. Never again.
I would buy 10 anyway. You know what I mean? Give me fucking 10 for 10 all day. Come on with it.
So the other day I did get Arby's, right? So I got the smokehouse brisket sandwich because sometimes that thing, when it first came out, that thing was banging. So I got the sandwich and I get it back and it's like this little tiny ass thing now. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I just paid $6 for this fucking sandwich. I just paid $6 for 3 little fucking slivers of fucking brisket meat and fucking and it's not even it's just Arby's brisket. It's not like it's some fucking high dollar shit.
Did you eat it?
I did eat it and it was okay. But what's funny is I've noticed it's starting to get just about the same price to eat at your middle of the run chain places. I won't say fast food, but your Chipotle's and, a chain barbecue place and stuff like that. It's getting to be around the same price as eating out fast food if you want to get the same amount of food. You can't just go get a value meal and it be and it actually fill you up. You have to get a value meal and something.
I agree. I think Arby's does the best with their portions though. They usually fucking hook it up.
Well, not this Arby's. This Arby's is a bunch of fucking bitch ass bullshitters.
Dude, what if some of them are listening?
What? What, the Arby's?
What if some of the people from your local Arby's are listening?
I hope they are listening. They need to know about themselves. They need to take a look in the mirror and ask themselves what they're doing with their life. I mean, if you're going to work at Arby's, I'm not saying anything bad about working at Arby's, but if you're going to work at Arby's, the fucking commercial says we have the meat. You get the fucking sandwich, there ain't no meat on it. You ain't got no damn meat.
How much meat would make you happy, though?
If they just forgot the bun and just put a bunch of meat in the box, I'd be happy.
So you just want meat, no bun?
I mean, yeah, it'd be better than what I got. It'd be better than all bun and fucking a little sliver of meat. And that's another thing about the 5 for $5 and whatever. It used to be, right? You knew. Right, you knew if you were getting the 5 for $5 that they were skimming the meat on it a little bit, but it was okay, right? You knew they were skimming the meat on it a little bit, but now that's the normal fucking like roast beef sandwich is what you used to get for the fucking skimpy ass 5 for $5 roast beef sandwich. And now, like, so you get the 5 for $10, you think it'd be at least the size of a regular, but it isn't. They skip the shit out of that too.
Well, you got to get full and then throw away some of the buns and just combine the meat onto one.
Yeah, but okay, you can do that, but should it be that way, Dave? Should it be that way in America?
I mean, no, it shouldn't.
I'm glad we finally agree on something.
Yeah, that's pretty rare occasion where we actually.
We do, yeah. But anyways, back to the sanding. Dave, have you ever sanded hardwood floors?
No. Because I have money and I just give it to the monkeys to do that.
You don't do that. Like, who the hell fucking professionally resurfaces hardwood floors anymore? You pay somebody do
every
that
person.
Dude, you pay somebody to do that shit, they just come in and put laminate down and stuff.
You know what I did do is bought a washer and dryer for $100, and the dryer's gas. I have both hookups, but the gas line is like, the cap is like glued onto it, so I can't get it off to hook up the gas line.
What? You have a gas dryer?
Yeah.
I've never, I mean, I know they exist, but I've never seen such a thing.
Yeah, it's got a little gas thing coming out of the wall. You hook the tube from the gas thing to the dryer, but the tube coming out of the wall is glued shut, and there's a spot for an electric plug, like the 220 volt or whatever, but I want to know if I can use that gas too. I need to. Or if I can make a maintenance request and say, hey, come give me gas.
Is a gas dryer better than an electric dryer?
I don't know. I don't know the difference. I've only used an electric one most of my life.
Anybody out there know if a gas dryer is better than an electrical dryer? Please call in. Please. We're begging. Actually, we're not begging. Fuck y'all. If y'all don't want to call in, fuck you. I don't like you anyways. You like suck my balls.
You should be a nice person, dude.
Fuck them. And I don't give a fuck what type of dryer they want anyways. Fuck their dryer. I hope it catches on fire.
Care, dude. I care about everybody's clothes drying preference. I actually prefer kind of hanging them up, so I'm okay with it.
Do you have like a good line? A good line to hang them on?
I don't, but I'm gonna get one.
Good to see you're thinking.
I think they smell better when you let them like just dry outside.
Yeah, they just smell like air, right? How do they smell better?
Yeah, they got a real air smell too.
If you use like good fabric softener.
I like the solid air smell they give off.
Sometimes I just like the smell of air. It smells good. Although I haven't been enjoying the smell of air much at work because I got to wear the mask. So it's just like smelling like CO2 and like my own breath blowing back in my face.
Which I can imagine is fucking awful.
Yeah, I got severe halitosis.
Do you make yourself sick to your stomach breathing in your mouth air?
Well, from time to time.
I bet you eat like garlicky, sick, nasty shit too.
No.
You drink coffee and like smoke cigarettes, so it's probably pretty hot.
Mhm. But yeah, man, floors. I was so mad. Like I had sanded them down and I got them where I wanted, and like I liked the way they looked. And then I went to go get the polyurethane coat, put it over top of it, and I didn't pay attention to what I got really. Like I knew what I wanted, and like I ordered it, and when I got it, I put it on, and I read the thing, and it gave it like an amber, like it had stain in it. And I was like, fuck, because I didn't want it to be stained at all. I wanted to just like have a natural wood look for like, because it's like white oak. And so I had to go rip the sander and shit again and totally re-sand the floors and go get some clear polyurethane to put on top of it.
Why are you doing all that?
Because I'm getting my shit fucking straight.
You getting it straight for what reason?
Because, man, my girlfriend's moving in.
So you want your girlfriend to have a nice place to stay?
Yeah. I'm trying to fix my house. We've been doing all types of shit. Been painting. It's been cool.
You've been fucking?
We've been painting. We've been fucking too. I mean, you know.
Are you like a hard fucking driller? Do you get down and fucking put some work in, or do you just kind of like hover over for a little bit all out of breath and sweaty and tough?
We've talked about this, man. I just kind of like climb up like a turtle and just bask and just kind of wiggle back and forth a little bit until my hot member shoots out warm, fiery semen.
See, why you got to make it awful?
Hey, I got a serious question for you. Have you ever came so hard you bled?
No. That's not normal.
It is not normal.
I don't think that's coming hard. I think that's real bad.
Yeah, well, so did I, but apparently my doctor didn't think it was. He said it's actually
Your doctor was like,
normal.
this is totally normal. I come so hard, I come all the time.
No. Like, come all the time. That's not what I said. I said,
I mean,
I said two different times. Two different times I came so hard that there was blood coming out of the tip of my dick.
I feel like there's like a serious problem then.
Well, that's what I thought. But my doctor said, like, oh, well, I'm not old enough to have, like, and they've done, like, tests and stuff, and he's like, you're like, not at risk or anything to, like, prostate cancer. If that was the case, like, then we would think maybe that might be the case, but it's not. He said it just happens sometimes to people. He said it's more normal than you'd think. He said most people don't even notice it because, you know, it's already wet down there and stuff.
Right.
But, like, yeah.
It's horrifying.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Think about my poor girlfriend. Shooting hot
just had
loads.
bloody cum all on her.
Just fucking all over her face and everything, just dripping down, just like fucking. It was like a scene from a fucking Wes Craven.
Does it cause you pain?
I don't know if it was necessarily pain, just a lot of pressure. Like I could tell, like it was like, yeah, I could tell it was different. Put it that way. This was actually something we talked about a while ago. It hadn't happened in a while.
So, I mean, how long do you typically last when you're getting ready to burst a bloodshot?
I'll be honest with you, the two times that it happened, like, was longer than normal. You know. So, like, instead of 2 minutes and 20 seconds, it was like, you know, maybe 5.
Right. And then do you, I mean, that just seems real awful.
What seems awful?
Coming blood. I mean, do you just, like, look all ashamed and guilty on your face, like, I'm sorry, or?
Well, it was definitely scary. I mean, you know, I had to have a talk with my doctor, and he seemed to think it wasn't that big a deal. No, maybe it was.
He's like, man, it ain't no big fucking deal, dude. He's like, you can come and shit all over your own butt.
You would think like maybe I was doing something, you know? Like, I don't know, like maybe I was shoving something down my pee hole.
Do you do that? Are you a pee hole stretcher?
No. But I probably do have like a stretched out pee hole though, that being said.
You probably do?
Probably. Yeah, I've had a couple kidney stones I've shot out of there.
People always told me I was going to get kidney stones for the amount of energy drinks I drank, and I never got a single one.
Well, they're not fun. They are not fun, sir.
I mean, I hear that they're, like, incredibly painful and, you know, like, it's like having a baby out your wee-wee hole. And
I wouldn't say that. The actual it coming out doesn't hurt. Like, that doesn't hurt at all when you actually piss it out, which is surprising. Where it hurts is that it starts in your kidney, and then it starts to go down they call it a ureter, but it starts to go down that tube into your bladder. So once it gets down into your bladder, you're okay for the most part. But the thing is, those tubes are real small, and those kidney stones have barbs on them. So they get stuck, and what they do is they back up the piss that's trying to move from your kidney to your bladder, and it hurts like fucking, I don't know, man. It's definitely the worst pain you'll ever feel.
ever?
I seriously think you'd probably get your arm chopped off and you'd go into shock and wouldn't even feel it. But this is like, there's no getting used to it. It just hurts. And it keeps hurting, and it's a weird pain because it's internal, you know? So it's not like normal pain. It's just like, it makes your fucking muscles tense up and everything. You can't get comfortable. You can't stop moving. Like you'll move like one way and it'll feel just a little bit better, but it only lasts for like 2 seconds, and then you have to move again. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I never had any issues with my reproductive system or wiener or balls or anything like that. Pretty healthy area.
Really? I thought that you like bit your dick and broke it or some shit.
Oh, I mean, I guess when I was 18 years old I did that, but that doesn't, I mean, I don't know, it didn't cause any lasting trauma, I don't think, other than I got a really dope curve. I mean, and I feel like I had the curve probably to begin with.
Yeah. Well, then why you always bring up the fact that you bent it and broke it?
I didn't, you did.
No, but you always said that. You're like, oh, I bit and broke my dick, and now I got a curve.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that that's what it was. I don't remember it being, like, particularly straight before the broken thing, but, I mean, it could have had a curve still. I don't know.
So what's been going on with your life? Was it a real big head? Well, yeah, I do have a really big head. Like,
yeah, that's like you know, we had a thing called Guys Night back when we were in middle school, and we all showed each other our dicks to just like, you know, dominate or like secure dominance with one another. But I was called Shroomer because it was a big top, and then we had one named Skeet, and we one had who had like a really itty bitty little one, and we called him Meat, like as a joke, how you call like a big guy Ant or, you know, whatever. And then we had one called Looper because it was like 16, 17 inches fucking long, and it like spun around and changed colors and shit. So fucking, it was like the funniest thing forever. He was like 12 years old with this fucking like just bat. Does that make you uncomfortable? So, you're muted or something. You are muted or something. Cannot hear you. Or you muted me. Fucked up or something. Fantastic. You know, Bo likes to buy cheap Amazon shit and plug it into his 1992 computer and hope that it works. most of the time it doesn't, and he has to just call in on his phone anyway. Since I'm calling in on my phone, if he has to like call in, I can't get him on. You know what I mean? Like it's a pram, you know, because I can't see that he would be trying to call or anything like that. So I'm not really sure what we do in this situation. I think I just kind of talk and hang out with you guys, and maybe he comes back, maybe he don't. That would be okay. You know, I typically can hold a pretty strong conversation with zero sort of, no, what is that word? Zero response? I don't think that's it either. Yeah, when it's just my opinion, it sounds much better, I feel. For the most part, doing pretty swell. I work quite a bit. You know, and I kind of roll. Hey, how are you?
Somebody killed me.
What'd you do, Bo?
I don't see anything. All of a sudden, it just went, doo. And I was like, oh, man. Oh, man. Oh,
you had
man.
me going solo, you fucking scumbag.
You did? Did you do good? Or did you just, like,
I'm pretty sure.
And, like,
we picked up thousands of listeners, so yeah, did pretty good.
The topic.
Now they're signing off because they're like, Bo's back. Gross.
Actually, we have a caller. I wonder who it is. Do you think it's Joe? I think it's Joe. I think I recognize the number. Caller, you're calling in to the Dapper Baboon. You're live. Caller, what's your name? What you want to speak about?
My name is John Jones, Martian Manhunter. And are you people still transmitting from Mars?
How you doing, bud?
Transmitting trailer park.
Hey, Bo, hey, Dave. Hey, how are you guys doing?
Well, not too bad. Flailing through this episode.
What's on the agenda for tonight? I know that you want people to call in so that you can make them feel bad. So I'm glad of that because people actually do need to feel worse. Because how are they going to appreciate COVID unless they're made to feel worse?
Oh, I don't believe in COVID in any way, shape, or form. Nothing. I've never worn a mask since the beginning. I've not got it. Maybe I just haven't had symptoms if I have got it. Never been told not to, or somebody wouldn't tell me anything when I was in a store. They didn't say anything at all. I just walked around with my mask off. In fact, if they would have said anything to me, I would just leave. I'm not even fucking dealing with somebody's bullshit or their COVID or whatever.
Well, I don't wear a mask out in public, but I do put it on in stores because at the early stages of this, younger chicks in particular, they were avoiding me like the plague, you know. And so I didn't want to freak people out, so I put on the mask when I'm inside a store. That way I don't have to encounter anybody, like 2 chicks or 3 chicks who want to form some sort of coalition and get rid of him. He's not wearing a mask, like they did in that supermarket a few weeks ago when the woman walked in and she had a cart full of food, and they said to her to put on the mask, and she refused, and then people got together and then, practically forced her out. So I don't want to be bothered with that either. You know what one of my other pet peeves is? It's not COVID.
What?
COVID is just... It's not a pet peeve. It's really a national disaster implemented and perpetrated by the scumbags in Congress. There are 2 shows on right now, BTR. One show, I won't mention either one of them because I don't want to embarrass either one of them. Their intentions are good. One show is sponsoring a whistleblowers convention. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, I called into the show. And I don't know why, but the co-host glommed onto me. She thought I could be very helpful for the cause because I believe that whistleblowers and investigative reporters are especially important to a country not even in the state that we're in now, but just the normal state of affairs, a normal republic, a normal democracy, etc. So she thought it might be useful to her cause. So she had her hostess take me into the green room. I got her phone number. I called her. I gave her some rudimentary advice on how to spread the news. I even told her that she could come to a show that I go to on Saturdays on a regular basis, because the show's a conservative show, and the host has 37,000 Twitter followers. So I figure if she shows up, she talks about the whistleblowers, the automatically 34,000 people are going to be notified of her show. She doesn't show up. So a few weeks after that, I call back. I talked to the hostess, not the same one, different one, and she wants to talk to me. And I say, okay, but we can talk in the green room. I'll hang on, and then at the end of the show, you can talk to me. So I'm hanging on, and the chick forgets about me. She ends the show, and she forgets I'm hanging on. So they're on now, but I'm thinking to myself, how serious can these fucking people be if they don't even follow up on the simplest of responsibilities, you know? And the other show right now, not that I'll take up only 2 more minutes of your time telling the story. And the other show right now is talking about defending the country, making people aware of what's going on, which is good. But what they do is that they have a slew of people who are members of this particular show. And they've given themselves titles like Colonel this and Colonel that and Major this. And I'm saying to myself, come on. At first I thought they actually had, military people, real military people, who were members of this particular show. It so happens that it's, former people of the military, but they were like Navy personnel, like I forget what the lowest rank is, yeoman, something like that, or an Army personnel, private, and they gave them these honorary titles of colonel. And I'm saying to myself, come on, you're nothing more than keyboard warriors, I think. I haven't called in. So those are my 2 pet peeves. So can you guys please make me feel worse?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're a bad person for not wearing a mask. I don't appreciate that. And I don't appreciate Dave acting like you don't have to wear a mask either. Dave, if I see you without a mask, I'm kicking your ass.
That mask shit can suck my dick. I'm not wearing it. I don't give a fuck.
So why do you feel, Dave, that you don't have to wear a mask when everybody else has to?
I don't care. I'm not going to. I'm not doing it. Yeah.
You insensitive bastard.
I'm sorry. If that's what that makes me, sure. I'll take that title. That's what I'm going to do. I'll be an insensitive bastard about it. I can't do it. I can't sacrifice fucking what I believe in just to make these other. I don't care. I won't wear it even.
What is it that you believe in? Since when do you?
I just don't believe that this is real. I don't believe it at all.
Strong conviction. You don't believe it's real? What do you mean? Like,
not even kind of. The virus itself, everything that anybody. I mean, I have been with hundreds and hundreds of people and not gotten even so much as a sniffle. I mean, there's no way that it's that rampant and violent of a fucking virus. If it's, I mean. And people want to say, I mean, the only other argument is like, well, it's, asymptomatic. I mean, of course. What else would be the argument? People just don't get it, like, for real sometimes. I mean, what kind of bullshit is it? It doesn't give you a way to fall on the argument. Like, it's either you're a piece of shit for not doing it, it's asymptomatic and that shit happens anyway, or, I mean, like, you can't win. So, I'm not doing it.
Well, I mean, my parents had it.
Did they?
I mean, my parents had it. I mean, my
They're
dad
alive,
was
right?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Bo, are you serious?
Yeah, my parents had it.
You sure this wasn't the regular fucking flu?
What's that?
And are you sure they were diagnosed correctly? Because everybody's being diagnosed positive nowadays.
Well, I will say this. I mean, they were spending a lot of time in a hospital because my mom was having radiation treatments. And it was from, I want to say, from February until, I don't know. It was before and up to everything went crazy. And so one of the nurses or whatever that was treating my mom had it. Now, here's the thing. My mom was on radiation therapy, so she was really immunocompromised. She got it, but she only had like a slight cough. My dad got it, and my dad was like super fucking sick. And my dad, I imagine, is in much better shape than my mom, if not just for the cancer and fighting that off. So my dad was super sick. He was like had the worst flu that he's ever had. But they got over it, and they're both in their 70s or close to their 70s.
How long did your father have it?
Well, that's the thing. That thing is weird about it. They had both had it, and they didn't actually get the call about getting tested until after they had kind of recovered from it. So, like, my parents, they live in a trailer where, like, I got family who has land, and they basically sold their house, and they got a trailer up here in the north and a trailer up here in Ohio north and a trailer down South Carolina for when it's cold up here. They kind of just go back and forth. Well, So they just kind of stayed locked in anyways. They wasn't really going anywhere except going to the hospital and back. And so I normally would go see my mom and things like that and stuff, but we kind of knew that, the sick thing was going on, and it was kind of in the early stages. See, in Ohio, they were kind of like being weird and shutting things down before anybody else. So it was kind of in those early stages. And my dad had been sick, and they had started to get over it and everything. They didn't call the doctor. They didn't do anything. They just treated it like you would normally treat a flu. And I talked to my dad, and he was like, he could hardly breathe. So I'm like, he just kept coughing. And they ended up getting a phone call saying, hey, we need you to get a test because you've been in contact with one of the nurses, and she tested positive. So they did go get a test, and they both tested positive. They put him on quarantine for, I think, like 7 days after that. But then here's the funny thing. He didn't retest them before the quarantine was over. So then it was funny. They were off quarantine for about 2 weeks, and my mom went to have some type of checkup because of her, stuff. And they gave her a coronavirus test, and it was 2 to 3 weeks after she was off quarantine, and she came up positive again, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, I hope your mom recovers.
This was a long time. This was like back in. This is early. This is back in April, probably April or March.
January? When? Middle of March.
Yeah, this is either March or April.
For her to have caught it, or for her to have been diagnosed with it, with a compromised immune system, and for her to have recovered better than your father, I would suspect she either had the flu, or if she did get COVID, that COVID isn't as dangerous as people think. Now, your father seems to be an anomaly compared to your mom, because he was relatively well, caught it, and experienced some severe symptoms. For how many days did he have the symptoms?
Oh, about a week. He was probably sick for about a week. He was probably sick for about a week, and then, like, a couple of days he was really bad off.
Okay, because that could be COVID, and if he did get COVID, it also shows that he has a fairly decent immune system, because he was around your mom, and probably around the nurse. And, of course, he was around the nurse. and the nurse supposedly compromised his immune system to give him the pathogens. So I'm suspecting that COVID, even at its worst, even Fauci says it's no more than 2% mortality rate. And for us to undergo this kind of bullshit that we're undergoing for a 2% mortality rate is absolutely traitorous.
Right.
I'm not on Dave's side of the fence, though, to say that COVID doesn't exist. Although there is a member of Alex Jones's, I wouldn't call it staff, but a guy that John Rappaport. He's a guy that blogs a lot. He guest hosts every once in a while. And
I know Michael Rappaport.
Well, that's the actor, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is John Rappaport, and he says it doesn't exist. He doesn't give any proof that it doesn't exist. He just says it doesn't exist. But in any case, we know that we're having testing done. The tests are rigged. We already have documentation that shows that doctors around the country have been informed that when they give a test, it's supposed to be positive, no matter what the goddamn symptoms are. We also know that the cause of death is defined differently now, that if a person comes in contact with a person who is suspected to have COVID, and if they die of a heart attack and they're 85 years of age, they still have died of COVID, which is, to me, is traitorous. It's conflating the figures. It's making everybody believe that this particular disease, if it exists, is very dangerous, which then perpetuates the myth that we're supposed to have a shutdown for our own safety, which in turn endangers the economy. And if the economy goes on with the shutdown any longer, we'll have people dying of starvation, more people than the 150,000 who supposedly have died so far of COVID. So this is all bullshit.
Yeah,
I mean, how are we supposed to prove that it's not? How do we prove that it's not real? We can't. It's the fight's against us. There's no way that you can. I mean, how do you prove that it is real? Like, I just don't. It could be any version of any flu or cold or anything that we already have. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I'd say we have more information than what we ever had. I mean, if we could say, like, oh, well, how do we prove this and stuff? I mean, could you imagine, like, the people with the Spanish flu back in, what was it, 1913 or whatever, when that was going around, how much actual information they had? You know, like, the only thing they had to go off of was the fucking newspapers. You know, at least we have a lot of information and we can question a number of different things and a number of different sources. But I would say that, you know, I mean, from what I've read, and this is just, you know, my layman's opinion on it, is that the thing about coronaviruses in particular is that they aren't particularly deadly. So that's kind of the problem. That's the reason why they spread so much, is because since they're not particularly deadly, people who have the sickness, you know, walk around and spread it to other people more often. You know, when a virus is super deadly, it usually dies off real fast because anybody who catches it dies. You know, so the virus, it's in the best interest of the virus to keep its host alive longer.
Well, that's why theoretically we have these particular shutdowns, and especially in the Northeast, where you have the assholes of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania closing down their states, imposing these severe shutdowns, and yet they have the worst cases of coronavirus. Now, Cuomo, who's the governor of New York, he's bragging about how he did the right thing because they haven't had any more than just a minor spike in the last few weeks, and the death rate is extremely low, and he thinks it's because of his particular shutdown, he and the mayors. But if you go to Florida, Colorado, South Dakota, North Dakota, Virginia, Texas, they still have a lower rate per capita of deaths than these four scumbags who shut down the whole economy in their particular states. So this is all just a matter of control. And I believe, I don't have proof, but I believe it's being done by the globalists, namely the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, in order to impose pain, in order to impose control. And control without pain to people who are worth trillions of dollars isn't any fun unless people suffer. So we have to suffer in the process on the way to a vaccine that is going to give us, is going to kill more than the virus itself. So
well, that's something I wanted.
Those are my
that's
thoughts.
something that I've thought. That's something that I've thought throughout this whole thing, and I'm not looking at it on a moral level, whether it's right, wrong, or anything along those lines. But a lot of what is going on is definitely unconstitutional. I don't, and it's kind of weird that really hasn't been brought up that much. I think, there's whispers about it, and there's people who are definitely aware of it. But, like, none of this is unconstitutional, like, the government compelling what you wear, right? Like, compelling the wearing of masks is seemingly unconstitutional. Just a number of things, saying that you have to stay home even is unconstitutional.
Right.
So there's a number of issues here to where I know in Ohio there was some businesses who started suing the state, and the state started relenting on a lot of things, because really at the end of the day, the state doesn't have any leg to stand on, because it's really unconstitutional to tell a business that they don't have the right to actually be open and do their business. So that's kind of a weird caveat to this, is that a lot of this is unconstitutional. And I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be. Like I said, to take the morality out of it, I'm just talking about legally. There's really no basis or standard for this.
Well, if you listen to Alan Dershowitz, and I happen to like him, he's a civil libertarian, but a lot of people don't like him. He makes a very good argument that it is constitutional, not just for what's happening now, but to also force people to take the vaccine. Now, having said that, since I already prefaced my statement saying that he was a civil libertarian, is that that particular statement has been floating around the internet, but what has not been floating around the internet as well is the fact that he came back with saying that, yes, let's say if you had typhoid Mary, in order to protect the population, and if you had typhoid Mary, if you had COVID, and it spreads that rapidly, the state has the right to protect you, to protect others from you. But then he goes on to say, because he was questioned by Tucker Carlson, and he was asked, well, what if the vaccine didn't work well? And he said, if the vaccine proved that it was relatively ineffective, then the state does not have that power, because then it is unconstitutional to say you can't assemble, you have to wear a mask, you can't leave your house, etc. So he made a statement which I thought he backed up well, and then his second statement, which wasn't a contradiction.
Are we talking about Dershowitz?
Also,
are we talking about Dershowitz in a positive sense? Oh my God.
Well, I always thought of him as a good lawyer, and even though people didn't like him because he got off defendants, famous defendants that other people thought were absolutely guilty. But he also makes a point about that, because people are asking him, you defended Epstein and you got him off, and he said the job of a defense attorney, a good defense attorney, is to get your client off. And he makes the point by saying, if you hired a defense attorney, don't you want him to get you off? Yes, you do. It is up to the state to make their case.
You hired hookers
if they
for.
can't. Hired who?
I thought that's what you hired hookers for, to get you off.
To get you off. Yeah, to get you off the box, the case, and everything else that you want to get off on. So, I've always liked Dershowitz. And I would hire him, even no matter how unpopular the case was. And let's say I'd be accused of some heinous crime, I would hire him The job is to get your client off, as opposed to most lawyers who believe their job is to bill you for billable hours. And they can spend, they say they will spend 40 hours a week on your case, bill you $200 an hour, and they haven't done more than 10 hours work, and most of the other work is done by paralegals. So I'd rather have a winner who's my attorney than somebody who's ripping me off.
Oh, and I'm not questioning Dershowitz's ability to be a defense attorney. I actually have had a sour taste in my mouth about Dershowitz ever since he had the big the beef with Norman Finkelstein. I don't know if you know anything about that. Norman Finkelstein is he's a very outspoken. He's a Jewish scholar. He's very outspoken as far as in regards to
probably
Israel's
against Israel.
human rights.
Yeah,
exactly. He's very critical of Israel, and his parents were in Auschwitz and things like that. So he makes the point that it's particularly for the reason that his parents were in Auschwitz and concentration camps and stuff, that he won't sit idly by when Israel commits human rights violations against Palestinians and people in their own countries and stuff. So him and Dershowitz had a big to-go about it, and Dershowitz wrote a book, The Case for Israel, which Finkelstein basically came out and said it's pretty much plagiarism. And he went through and pointed out all the parts that he basically stole from this other book and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then Dershowitz, basically, because he was a Harvard professor at the time, went and got Finkelstein's tenure from where he was a professor revoked in a number of cases. Made it very difficult for Finkelstein to get a job, and Finkelstein was basically, I think, being very reasonable. But anyways.
But what was it that was Dershowitz saying that some writings of his were his, and Finkelstein found that he actually plagiarized them?
Well, what it was that he was quoting a book by Joan Stevens, I believe, and he quoted this book a lot. And the book is the book used to be used for a number of different arguments for Israel, but it's since been, as far as the academic community is concerned, it's been written off as a lot of it's non-scholarly, pretty much. So he quotes this book a lot,
okay,
and he does put in the sources as the source material. But what Finkelstein was pointing out was that he was copying even when he used the quotes in his text, he was copying editorial errors, even, like he was just copying and pasting. Like there was places where there was places where there was grammatical errors and punctuation errors and stuff, and that he didn't even, when he wrote it, he didn't even fix those things. He basically just copied and pasted them over. Was the point he was making?
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I like scholarly material, but I mean true scholarly material. If somebody's going to write, and I hosted a show. I hosted the show this past Monday, and it was because I was telling you guys about the show that I go to on Saturdays. Well, here this guy offered me the hosting job for Monday, and I said okay, so I hosted it for 3 hours Monday, and I pinned the guy down against the wall, because the kind of debates that I like to have, I don't like the normal debate where Joe Blow on the left and Joe Blow on the right, they have their points of view. Joe Blow left gets up, makes a 5-minute monologue, sits down. Joe Blow on the right gets up, does his 5-minute monologue. Maybe they question each other for another 5 or 6 minutes. Then they do another monologue, and then they leave it up to the audience to find out who do they think made the best presentation. What I like is what I call an interrogatory debate, in which I assume the role of the Supreme Court. And if somebody comes before me, just like they do in the Supreme Court, like lawyers, the Supreme Court justices won't allow lawyers to just go off on tangents. They keep them on the straight and narrow. So that's what I like to do. If you're saying that I believe that the Rockefellers are the owners of the world, like I believe that, but I also say I don't have 24-karat gold proof, I just connect the dots. Then I'll say to the person, do you have proof? Well, no. Well, then you should have said, I believe that the Rockefellers control the world, but also make an addendum in that you disclaim yourself and say it's my opinion. So one particular guy gets on the show, and after farting around and making sure the other people on the show, the other panelists, didn't interrupt too much, I got him to admit that what he was, first off, he tried to condemn Jews. Then he said the Jews, not the Zionists, not all Jews, but his major agenda for when he goes on shows and talks to people is to have separation between whites and blacks. So I got him to admit that what he wants is the United States to have a black section and a white section. He wants whites to pay off blacks, give them reparations, then put them in a place in the country, in the United States, and the whites can have their own section. So I got him to admit that because I had to dig down, keep on digging down, dive deeper, keep him from going off track, keep the others from interrupting. So that's the kind of debate I like to have. I think I would be a good one aspect if I were a lawyer. I would do very good cross-examinations and direct examinations. That's what I think I would do. The other stuff about being a lawyer, I don't know. But when it comes, if you're in the witness chair, I think that if you have one particular chink in your armor, I will find it and exploit it. So I think I would do that.
I think that's an interesting viewpoint. I mean, like, oh, there you are, Dave. Sorry, go ahead, bud.
No, I was just listening to you guys. No, I'm very good at like the cross examination after I hear somebody's argument to go through and find out. I at least like to play devil's advocate, or even if I don't believe in a particular thing, I will fight for its side just to try to understand it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. I go a little bit further though, because I try to pin people up against the wall. Because I always say, for a statement to be absolutely true, it has to have absolute proof. It might have evidence, but that's not absolute proof. And I tell people, everything that you say may absolutely be true, but unless you actually can provide internal documents, incontrovertible video that hasn't been doctored, audio that hasn't been doctored, or of people who were there that have impeachable reputation, right, beyond reproach, then you are subject to the same laws of presenting proof as anybody else. Logic and critical thinking, I think, should be the mainstay of the American public. And the major reason why politicians get away with what they get away with is because the public school system does not teach you how to think. They teach you English. They teach you math. They teach you geography, spelling, history, business, art, etc. They teach you everything but how to think. But within the other, fields of discipline, in science, yes, you have to do some thinking or a lot of thinking. But they're not teaching you logic and critical thinking from the time you're in first grade. And if we were taught that as every day, taught logic, every day taught critical thinking, just like we're taught English, politicians wouldn't get away with shit. Nothing. So if I were president, I would put up barriers along the borders, and I would shoot immigrants who were coming across the Rio Grande, and I would try to mandate, or at least I would recommend strongly, that high schools and grammar schools and elementary schools teach their students logic and critical thinking.
I agree with that. Well, you have critical thinking in, what is it, like language arts? You have to write critical thinking papers and things like that, but it's not very heavily focused on. That's the only one I remember.
That's true. That's what I was about to say. There are a lot of people, of course, when you take English, you have to think about who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist, what's the relative position between each one. Or when you write term papers, you do have to think. But once you start doing that, you're limited to what you know in terms of how to write a term paper, in terms of how to analyze for English, certain limits when it comes to certain fields in math. But overall thinking, how to take that particular field, that art, that skill, and use it overall in everyday life, we don't do that. Not scientists, not nuclear physicists, not politicians. We don't do it. Some people are better at it than others, but if everybody had to take the course as a formal course, everybody would be thinking and asking pertinent questions about everything. And you couldn't be bullshitted by politicians. You would say, what you say sounds good, but if you don't do what you say, can I rip you from the office with a petition? And if they say no, then you say, well, why not? If you're as good as you want us to believe you are, then come up to the task, live up to the task. If you don't live up to your campaign promises, you should be out of there. The first term, gone. You shouldn't even be up for re-election. Things like that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, I've never really focused on politics. It's never felt like it did anything to change my life, no matter where I stood on something. It just, you can have an opinion and talk about it, but nothing ever really changes or is nothing's different. I mean, maybe marginally, like in some ways, but everything stays the same no matter which side you're on.
Well, that's because not a lot of people will get together.
Yeah, I mean, things move slowly.
But
look how long. I mean, most places across America now have some form of legalized marijuana now, and that took a long time. Things do change, but I don't know. It's crazy because if you look back in American history, there were so many radical changes throughout our history that happened like immediately, but it's almost like the system's set up to be stagnant now.
That's a very good point because it is set up to be stagnant, and I'll give you an example. Suppose Bo and Dave, you guys were running. Let's say Bo's a Republican and Dave, you're a Democrat, right? And you're in the same town. You are. Your districts are right next to one another, right? So what happens is, let's say, okay, let's do it like that, right? Now, Bo, let's say you are for higher taxes, but you're not for funding of, you are funding for abortion. You want higher taxes, and you're for the funding of abortion. And Dave, you want lower taxes, and you're against abortion. So now, both of you guys get elected to represent your districts, right? Now, a bill comes down. You're in Congress. You're in the House of Representatives, and the bill from Pelosi and from Mitch McConnell comes down, and you look at the bill. Now, the bill has higher taxes, but no funding of abortion. So higher taxes, Dave, you like that. Bo, you like higher taxes, but you don't like the non-funding of abortion. Dave, you like lower taxes and not the funding of abortion. So you got a bill that has part of what you want and part of what you don't want. How do you vote? You compromise. So when you compromise as a Republican and a Democrat, then you have what's called a bipartisan compromise. And everybody thinks everything's going along so well. But it's really stagnant because the abortion bill isn't going to go through and the tax bill isn't going to go through. I'm for a line-by-line veto by the president, or it should be mandated that every bill from Congress should be a single-issue bill. It shouldn't represent 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different issues and then throw in the pork as well. That, to me, it creates stagnation. Make it one issue so that the president can veto it or approve it, and then when it goes back to Congress, then the people who want to represent that issue can represent it, and the people who don't want to represent that issue can actually not represent and vote against it. So what you said, Bo, is absolutely true. The system is set up for stagnation.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But, hey, we were actually planning for 1 hour tonight, and we're a little bit over. So Joe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Joe, thanks for calling in, man. We'll probably be doing two hours next week. But, yeah, man.
No problem. Are you guys still on? Are you guys still on Friday?
Did you say you have a show that you're doing now? Do you want to plug that?
Oh no, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it on a regular basis. I just did it this past Monday. I just continue to go back to my friend's show on Saturdays, which is at 9:00 Saturday Eastern Standard Time, and it's called Beyond the Mainstream, and it's hosted by Donnie C. So you can put both those terms in the search engine in Blog Talk Radio, and the show will pop up, Beyond the Mainstream, and his name is Donnie C, which is also part of the show. So, are you guys on tomorrow?
No, we moved to Thursdays. We're Thursdays now.
Only Thursdays, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, look, you guys be safe and enjoy the rest of your week, okay?
Absolutely,
right,
you too, man.
And thanks for making me feel worse. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you deserved it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Dave, how you feeling? You feel worse?
Oh, I feel fine, bruh. I mean, life, it is what it is, and junk, so.
Very cool. Well, I thought this was a good show.
Yeah, dude.
Man, I'm so beat. So tired from sanding.
From all the sanding or whatever?
All the sanding. But all right, man.
Please.
Hey, well, thank you. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Dapper Baboon Show. We are on the Third Eye Political Radio Network. I feel like I haven't plugged that in, forever. They'll probably get mad and kick us off. But we are on the Third Eye Political Radio Network. Check us out Thursdays at 8:00 p.m. We usually go 1 to 2 hours. Dave, you got anything to say to the people for the week?
I love everyone. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with some more quality content next Thursday.
That's right. We love you so much. Goodbye.